Do anything as far as lifting the truck up, we're going to make sure we disconnect our positive lead here. Normally I disconnect the negative, but as you can see the negative's in a little bit of a tight spot, so I'm going to take the positive lead off. Now I know everybody knows that this is positive, and you don't want to take your ratchet and touch it into a fender while touching this onto the positive side of the battery cable, because you will short the battery out. All right, just be a little bit more careful because you don't want to have any damage to it. All right, so we're just going to rock this back and forth and take this totally off and relocate it to the side away from where you're working, because as these cars get older or trucks get older, you put it over here and then it'll slowly work its way back over till it may touch by accident, and you could have an issue down on the bottom while you're disconnecting it. So take your cable and relocate it far enough away so it's not going to gravitate back over to your to where you disconnected it from. All right, let's set the car up on the lift. Let's lift it up, and we'll see what we're going to do underneath there to get that starter out. Okay, now we're underneath the vehicle, and on the passenger side of the vehicle is where we're going to see the starter. That's the starter located up in there. A little bit of a tight spot, but once we take the bolts out, we should be able to remove it. So we'll get in there some tools, and as you can see, there's a lot of salt underneath here too. So we're going to get up in there. We're going to take those bolts out. They're probably 13 millimeter. We're going to take those two 13 millimeter bolts out. We'll pull the starter back and we'll disconnect our electrical connectors. So let's grab some tools and we're going to get started. But we're going to get up here with this 13 millimeter, and we're going to remove the starter bolts. Alright, so we'll take that second bolt out and just pull it down and out. And the starter now is loose. And what we do is just move the starter back. Just push it back, and we'll disconnect the electrical leads. I'm going to actually take off this lead right here, and then I'm going to pull the starter out through this opening right up inside here. I know it's a little difficult to see for you, but that's what I'm doing. So let me get that lead off, and then we'll pull that starter out. We're just going to pull that lead off. Just get it off to the side now. And then your starter will come up this way and out. I'm going to need two hands to do this, so let's see. If you play around with it, you can get it to come out through there. It is really a tight squeeze. And anyhow, that's the starter. That's how you get it out. We're just going to pull it out the rest of the way. We'll grab the new one, and we'll put the new one in. Just open this up here. There we go. That's our starter. Not as easy as they say, but it's out. Let's grab the new one, and we'll put the new one in. Now we got to get our new starter back in there, and we're just going to pull this back out, and we're going to get the new starter back inside. Okay. Now we got the starter back in. We're going to reconnect our wiring on there. Okay. Now we got the starter back in there. We're going to go underneath the bottom, and we're going to reattach those bolts that we previously took out. We're just going to lift the starter back into its position. screw them in by hand. It's a little bit of a tight squeeze up here just to get your hand in there and get to the bolts. We'll get our second bolt caught. Once we've got them caught in there, we can tighten them up all the way. All right, starter's nice and tight. Now we're going to go back up top and we'll reconnect the positive and the electrical connector. Okay, now we've got our starter back in place. We're just going to bring our positive wire back in and reconnect it onto the starter itself. I might add that you want to clean that positive cable off to make sure it's a nice clean connection, which is already done. We're going to reattach the flat washer, or I should say lock washer, and put on our 13mm nut, and I'll tighten that down. Tighten it by hand as tight as you can, and I will have to tighten it up with a wrench. And then of course, make sure you reconnect your wire harness that plugs into the into here, so we can get it snapped in place, and you'll hear it snap in and it locked in. Right now, let me just tighten up that positive wire, and then we'll go up top and reconnect the battery. Now let me tighten it up, we'll come right back. Okay, now that we got our vehicle back down on the ground, we're going to reconnect our positive cable, and we're going to test it. All right, just put it down. Now when you tighten this up, remember, you got to be careful, because we're tightening up the positive, not the negative. If we touch something by accident, it could be catastrophic, as you know. All right, nice and tight. Now put our cover back over the top of the battery, and now if you did your job correctly and everything is done the way it's supposed to, we should be able to get inside, turn the key, and it start right up. So let's check it out. Alright. That's the sound you want to hear. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.